Peace and respect to you all. Welcome to Demolished Doctrine, the beginning of the end of religion. And it's a Wednesday, and we are blessed, starting the show a little earlier than usual, that we have both bigzebra.com, which is an actual website. Check him out, bigzebra.com. And we also have MacAHuman, which I think you're still calling yourself Mac or Mac the Human, but Mac's a human. He is. As far as we can tell, unlike the zebra.
Thank you.
Not to be confused with Mac the Knife or Mac the Cheese. Or the makeup line.
What's the makeup line, Mac?
I think Max Factor.
Oh!
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a mid-range makeup line.
Oh, okay.
Lordy. So, Richard, was there something on your agenda today, or should we just start it up?
Well, you know, I was just saying over on Wild Heart's show just now that I want to be surprised and not know what you guys are going to say. And the reason for that is to show that I have literally prayed my way through every line in the Bible, very slowly, methodically, purposefully. So it should be, if what I just said is true, and I got reasonable answers, it should be that I can answer instantaneously without, except maybe a few seconds of delay to say, okay, let me think about what, and remember that thing. Let me see what you're talking about. And then I should be able to immediately answer, and my answers should always be consistent within each other, which is something that's like really difficult for a human brain to keep track of. They should never contradict each other. They should be consistent. It should always be the same answer every time the same question comes up. That's what should happen. So I want to answer really immediately, and I want to be surprised by the question.
Well, I wanted Mac to go first, but if he's still gathering his thoughts, I will.
Go ahead. Shoot.
Okay. I have two. One of them is a stupid joke. And the other one is kind of serious, but I'm worried, Richard, it'll insult you a little bit, which is not my intention.
That's not possible. Go ahead.
Okay, well, the first one is a joke, and that was, I don't know if the Bible predicts it or not, but many people have predicted that we would move to a cashless society. And when they made this predicament, I didn't realize that it meant I wouldn't have any money.
I don't think that's what it meant.
Well, that's what it's ended up at. Okay.
So now, it came true for you anyway.
Is there anything in the Bible about that?
The only way that I can answer that is to say that if the 7 announcing miracles happened, there would be a collapse, an all over worldwide collapse of all these money systems. Now governments go to great extent, to great pains, to protect their own physical equipment. For instance, when you see a military helicopter, it's been quote unquote hardened. What that means is that all the sensitive parts have a Faraday cage around it. Obviously, the thing has armor. That's not what hardened means. It means it's been electrically strengthened. Okay, that's what it means.
EMP pulse?
Exactly. Precisely why. That's right. And also, in the 80s, I think it was, that the science was just starting to come out about these things that the public was aware of. The science existed. There was some large entity in the United States that compelled Congress to devote several $billion to putting what they called stints, which a stint is it's a resistor, a really big resistor, and attach it directly to the hot electrical line at substations all over the U.S. and directly to the ground. And you go, what? You want to put a resistor between the hot line and the ground? Yes. Why? Because it might suddenly have too much electricity in it and you need to divert that somehow.
Do you think it would help? There's
not done with the idea yet.
Think about EMPs, but also coronal discharges that it wiped out the grid in Quebec one year. And we could have a global one that would wipe out half the world's grid.
No, or the whole thing,
Yeah.
actually.
Do you think it
Okay,
would help?
peace and respect, Peebo Thulu and Our Dying Sun. Funny, Our Dying Sun should show up while we're talking about the sun. That's sort of ironic or something. Okay, because he doesn't show up every show, or she. I don't know who they are. It's hard to people have to like write a lot to figure out if it's a man or a woman writing. But anyway, okay, so yes to all of that, but I wasn't done with the stints. Okay, so actually Congress said, no, we're not giving you that amount of money, electric companies, et cetera, to fix this problem, because we asked the scientists and they said that wouldn't help. A serious EMP, electromagnetic pulse, from a coronal mass ejection, CME, or outburst of the sun throwing a little baby fit, could be so big while the poles are flipping that I don't care what kind of stint you put there, it's going to fry the system anyway.
Oh.
So they said
then
no,
they should
and people
have the
got really
equipment
pissed.
stored in warehouses so that it doesn't get fried. It's turned off, and then they can just reinstall them.
Well, we've been trying to build up those supplies. That's true. Because like a lot of the transformers, the big coils in the United States are actually made in Switzerland.
I did not know that.
We don't even make them. So, yeah, you better have some stored up.
Did you want to hear the other thing that was worrying me?
Sure, go ahead. Not that was completely
I've just
flushed
forgotten
out,
what I said.
ahead.
The first thing that was worrying me.
First, it was a
cashless
joke.
Society, yeah.
Yeah.
The second one, the second one that I was that's on my mind, but it might seem flippant coming from me, whereas if it came from Mac, it would just be a serious objection.
Well, I'll tell you what, you talk and Mac just sit there and go, and it'll look like it's coming from Mac.
That sounds
that solves that issue.
Okay, that works for me. I can't impersonate people well, so I can't do the Mac voice, but I will try. You see, the thing is that part of my problem with religion is that maybe you have Allah sending prophets down to the middle of some goddamn desert, or you have the Buddha, which seems really unlikely, or Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and God above, which seems really unlikely that he'd be really concerned with whether or not clothing is made from a single fabric or not. This is what people of my station in life think of as bloody stupid. All right, it's an embarrassment to the human race, and it took me a long time to get here to be able to even say that. But sure. I think it's true. But I see our friend Richard here, and behind him, he's got giant spaceships that look like red lozenges that are going to come down and take humanity away. And you know what? Like, if I put those to the same test as Richard, then why believe, say, for example, Paul saw a bright light, and he said, Saul, Saul, why dost thou persecute me? I believe that happened. I just think it was in his own head. And how can Richard spend so much time and so much energy telling us about his reasoning? And he does use reason, not just gummy spaceships. Way to go, Wild Hearts.
Tasty.
The thing is that the real only reason I'm here is that Richard uses reason to work his way through the Bible. But I can't get around angels and giant red lozenges or maybe a lollipop.
He also uses prayer.
Stick, holy crap. And he is a human being who has experienced this, but that can't be shared. His reasoning can be shared, but the reason to believe isn't shared. I never get there. And
okay, let's
maybe
stop.
I don't understand,
Stop right there before you go on, because I can tell that's the end of an idea. And I don't want to interrupt you, I want you to fully flush. Is it fully flushed out?
I think so.
Okay.
So
All right.
far away.
Yes. Please consider why you believe anything. I don't care what the topic is. You could pick literally anything. That particular zebra and stud and that particular zebra mare are my mom and dad. Why the hell do you believe that? Well, because all of the evidence is there. All of the reasoning is there. And yes, a lot of it is like circumstantial or it's dependent, but you believe that they're your parents because they have all the aspects of being your parents. Can you prove it? Well, to prove it, you need genetic tests, and then that's not 100% conclusive because you'd have to test all of their DNA, both of them, and all of yours, and then know how the combinations could come out to say that it could be you. Well, it's not conclusive. In fact, nothing is. But is it reasonable to believe is the right question. So yes, we can have justified true belief in a thing without absolute proof. We have to do it all the time. And that's not a cop-out. That's just real life. Can I absolutely show everything of my experience and that it's necessarily true? Well, no. But is that reasonable to ask? Well, no. It's not even reasonable to ask me to do that. No one can do that with anything, including all the sciences and all the maths. Consider, I don't know how to say this well, Gödel, and the problem that math is a set and that maths are within that set, but they can't be justified by the set because they need to be not in the set to be maths. And that whole thought, and I don't even get what he's talking about. He's a smart dude. But it's something like that. I mean, at some point, all of these things break down and they become axiomatic, and you have to depend on the axioms. And I mean, just friggin' everything. And all of it's circular or begging the question or special pleading or some level. There's three things that are logically flawed, and everything's logically flawed. Okay, so why believe anything at all? Well, you can go through your life believing nothing. Good luck. I think that's not a reasonable way to live. So I have to be more metered than that and say, okay, well, what's believable? And why is it believable? Well, let's look at the three basic laws of logic. Is there anything contradictory about the conception of the Trinity that I've presented? That it's three living beings participating, two living beings participating in a set of social constructs, and thereby are the hand, the body, the living thing that does the social constructs. Is there anything inconsistent about that? I don't think so. Is there anything inconsistent or impossible about space travel or humans existing in the universe or humans getting advanced enough in space travel that they can go great distances almost or even perfectly instantaneously, and I don't know how that works, that they claim that they can do that? Is there anything logically impossible? Shoot, we're trying to do it now. So we have theories about how that sort of thing might work, although we haven't figured it out. We're not that advanced. That's reasonable, but at least we've had the concept. We had the idea happen to us, right? So, I mean, just find an inconsistency somewhere where it looks like what I'm saying should be bullshit. Just find one and point it out to me. And you mentioned a couple things, but you kind of had a gish gallop. And not that I'm saying you did it on purpose. I'm saying I can't remember everything you mentioned in your
it's just hard to reach the conclusion, that something exists that is evaluating us and will arrive at some crisis point. And
they caused the crisis, so that's kind of a given. But
a crisis. Sorry.
They caused the crisis that they intervene in. So it's and as far as like the existence of Buddha, Christ, Thor, etc., it's the great spirit. I'm sorry, the gentle spirit, to the, I think it's the Aboriginal American tribe, I think it's Apache. As far as that character is concerned, if you can accept that these things have not happened, which I think you already accepted that, and if they have a potential of happening but have not happened, that makes them in the future, not the past. So they're only plausible in the future. They're not even plausible in the past. We know it didn't happen, right? So if it's even plausible in the future, then that's called a prophecy. When you make a statement that you say you will do at some future time, that's a prophecy, i.e., the Yellow Emperor is a prophecy. Buddha is a prophecy. Thor is a prophecy. Jesus is a prophecy, and that's all one living being. Now, would different cultures need to explain different way to say the intent and knowledge and understanding of a singular living being? Do I even need to finish the idea? Obviously, they need it explained different.
Well, you're unusual in that if you, for example, looked at Buddhism or looked at, say, some Aztec culture, you would find, I guess, would a corollary be the right corollary expression where they lead in the same direction? Because
I had to figure out what that word meant based on Latin. But I figured it out. Keep going.
Well, I may not be using it quite right, so don't think me that smart yet.
Let's assume it until you prove otherwise.
Yeah, let's because when was the last time a zebra made a mistake? I mean, come on.
Ever?
I just why would so many flood myths occur around the world? Well, it's natural enough because floods do occur.
Yeah, but that's not what the flood's talking about.
Well, maybe
it's
not.
A prediction. Well, I'm telling you that it works consistently throughout all these stories that it's a large group of beings, namely us on this planet. So it's a prediction of the Earth becoming close to overpopulated.
Oh, right, because you interpret flood as sometimes meaning a large group of people.
Waters.
Always meaning a large group of beings. Always.
Like the same way you could say multitude.
Sure. So when Gilgamesh is in a boat, that is, he's kept separate from, he's above, he's not part of the waters. And he is going forward, and he's being led by this boatman. Not that doesn't sound like the river Styx. And he had to pay a toll to get on the boat, which doesn't sound at all like Jonah. I mean, it's just the same story so many times. And he's trying to find the thing which provides eternal life. And just on and on and on like that. It just never ends. You just have to know where the stories match, and you get the same story. You get the same 20 stories 1,000 times. I mean, it is so freaking redundant that if it wasn't for talking to guys like you, I would be bored out of my mind with this.
So we serve a purpose then.
For me personally, in selfish ways, yes.
Yes, okay.
So if you can accept that it hasn't happened in the past and that it could be predictive, and the only way it could be true is if it's predictive, and then the guy actually shows up, right? And he's very much Muhammad. He fits the description of Muhammad. He's very much Buddha. He fits the description of Buddha. He sounds like Buddha. He talks like Buddha. He's got the wisdom of Muhammad. He's like into realism and stuff. He's not a magic guy, right? And then he starts telling you all this stuff, and he's like, look, you've been looking at this wrong the whole time, and here's how you should really look at it. You know, he is Thor. That would make him Thor.
If would I be right in thinking that I don't need to believe this until evidence shows up and when all these weird red things appear in the sky, bigger
Two
than the moon
giant
in the
thumbs
sky,
up.
can
Two
I
giant
then,
magical thumbs up. Yes,
well, can I
absolutely.
only then start believing in it?
Why the hell would you believe in it now?
Well, you're telling me to believe in it, mister.
No, I'm saying this is reasonably logical and is plausible in reality. I didn't say you should believe this. You're never going to hear me say here. You're never going to hear me say, hey, start believing this.
That's the thing.
Dude, I had a hard time in believing in wrinkle-free shirts when they came out.
I'm telling you,
I
man.
have one now, and it's not totally wrinkle-free, but it's pretty good. I've never had to iron it. Yeah, this is asking for a lot. Thorazine, way to go, Harpo Blues. That is awesome.
He's a chemist. He's a chemist and computer guy.
Right.
He's brilliant. He's my favorite human to actually like get to physically, be around and argue with.
Nice.
That's an excellent pun too, and there are very few puns that can even be called mediocre. Most of them are just horrible, repugnant things that are a blister on our language.
And I think Thorazine is that medication that makes people like shuffle around and be completely
complacent. Yes,
that's the word I was looking for. Actually, yes, it was perfect.
Of course, if that's
out of all the possible words there, I'm really suspicious you might have accidentally prayed there. There could have been a lot of words there, and I gave you almost no hint.
Well, it's always a bit of a problem because when you, for example, have kids in school who are literally running around screaming, making sure a class can't take place, and then you start to realize that they can't really stop it. And then you say, well, let's explore medication. But are you really helping this kid, or are you just having him complacent in class?
Right.
Antipsychotics,
it's just less of a problem. It's not helping.
Yeah.
It's not helping the student. Yeah.
Now, if someone
I'd like
is
to address Ronan Kanushi.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. It's your show, Richard.
I'd like to. Okay, that's fair.
I
sort of fair.
Jesus.
Let me address Ronan Kanushi in the side chat. In your comment, I predict that Jesus will never return. For about the billionth time I've said it. Future events aren't a return; they're an occurrence. You've been Christianized. I feel sorry for your brain. I'm trying to fix your Christianity and make you read the flippin' story. But for the 1000th time, dude, seriously, it's a prediction. There is no return.
I believe
I
want to
cometh with clouds. Not I return with clouds. It does not read that. You ignorant Christian.
What does he say? I come with clouds, not I return with clouds?
Yes, it says I cometh with clouds. It doesn't say I return. It never says I return. There is no return.
I want to make a prediction that Jesus will return and help me with my taxes at H&R Block.
Oh, that'd be nice, right?
Very helpful and
benevolent
good with numbers.
tax help. Benevolent tax
well,
help. How do you beat that?
Anyway, sorry, that was very silly, but I felt like making a prediction, and it's what I came up with, And
thank you very much, Ronan. You believe that Jesus will never occur. Thank you immensely.
Yes. I wanted to thank you, Richard, for not getting all PO'd because I don't think this will happen, and I don't get it.
You're not supposed to. No. Do you understand that you and people, zebras like you are part of a prophecy? Do you not understand that you are fulfilling a prophecy as you speak?
I am.
Yes.
Well, no, I don't understand
and in fact,
that.
Matt, and to get off of the personal topic of you personally, Matt Dillahunty's really good at helping fulfill a prophecy. Because the Bible says there's going to be 3 exact things that the non-believers object to. You want to know what they are? Go look at Matt Dillahunty's argument.
Marinara sauce, peanut butter that's gone bad, and
I'm
going to stop now. What are the 3 things?
The coming judgment, the flood, and the resurrection. Are those not the things that he's going on about every?
Does the Bible actually list those three things one after another?
Yes,
I
in
didn't know
one
that.
paragraph.
Whereabouts? Do you remember?
I'm not good at numerical.
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah. You know what? I may
use
look
a
that up
search
while
engine
we're
to find
here.
the stuff. Yeah.
To the Google machine. We're in the.
That's right. The
Bible.
Google machine will tell you where it's at.
Richard, Jamie
Biblical.
Russell gave you a
Right.
good challenge there.
Can you
Acts
exegete
1:11.
Acts 1:11, which that meant nothing to me, and explain why you aren't
I'll grab
consistent with defining biblical symbols?
I mean, that's a
Okay,
little.
I don't know
that's
how
a
I'm
little mean.
inconsistent. What? It's a little what?
That was a little meanly phrased, Jamie, but I feel like we should rise to it.
Doesn't I don't care. You gonna look it up for us?
I got it. I actually have a
Okay.
physical Bible right here. Acts
Way to
1:11.
go.
Yeah, forget about the Googles.
I
got
tried,
paper.
while you're looking that up, I tried to find that section, and I got down the flood and resurrection, didn't find it. And what was the third thing?
I'm sorry. I was reading a side comment. I was distracted.
Oh, okay, sorry. You said there's a passage in the Bible where three things.
Yeah, I just want you to list the two you have. All the rest of it.
Flood and resurrection.
Flood, resurrection, coming judgment.
Oh, and coming judgment. Okay, thank you. I'll see if I can. If that.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I'm going to start with 9 because
Context.
Jesus just got done saying some stuff. Yeah, exactly. And when Jesus had said this, as they were looking on, he was lifted up, and a cloud took him out of their sight. And while they were gazing into heaven as he went, behold, 2 men stood by them in white robes, and said, Men of Galilee, why do you stand looking into heaven? This Jesus, who was taken up from you into heaven, will come in the same way as you saw him go into heaven. And I think I can field this for you too. Jamie, the primary thing you got to remember is this, from Richard's point of view, is a prediction. This is not a record of something that has happened on this planet yet. So as long as you contextualize it as something that will happen, it still tracks, Am I close there, Richard?
No, well, spot on. And to go a little bit further than that, I think the cloud is, I ain't telling you. They do not mean a literal cloud. They mean you. I'm just not going to tell you how it happened. I'm just going to call it a cloud. But which makes it literally a cloud. A fog in your mind.
What about the men in the white robes?
Oh, I think this is evidently angels.
Oh, they were from a nearby spa, and there were a lot of them in Jerusalem at the time. They would hit you with palm branches imported from Northern Europe.
Wanted to see what the commotion was about.
Yeah, that's not helpful.
Doesn't that make them Nordic? That's a Nordic sexual excitement tradition.
Oh, really?
Yeah. To beat each other with cedar boughs.
All right.
Comes from my knowledge of that comes from a comedy routine group called Da Youpers. You have to say that Da Youpers. You have to say it that way, yeah. From the late '80s, when I was in Desert Storm, someone had a cassette recording of Da Youpers, and I beat you with some cedar boughs. I tried to make you hot. You got all excited and went off like a shot. So that's where my knowledge of that comes from. Wasn't that a weird thing to know and remember? I heard that like over the course of a week. I heard it a couple times, and it's just stuck up there. Anyway.
Well, I have a story.
What was the second half of what Jamie said? Jamie said 2 things there. Why am I not consistent with my conception of biblical symbology? How do you know that? Maybe you're not. What do you mean I'm inconsistent in biblical symbology? This which is behind me is heaven's arrival. It's also a great god in Hinduism that hugs the earth. You can see why it hugs the earth. There's spaceships that surround us. It's the rainbow serpent of Dreamtime of the Aboriginal Australian, which is curved and red and reflects a light. And there's green light and there's red color. And it's so freaking big that it looks like a serpent crossing the sky. That is, a arc between the lakes. And the lakes are really far apart in Australia. So it's like this giant serpent rounded red and green thing covering the sky. I just don't find the inconsistencies. It's the red star Kachina of the, which tribe is that? Not Hopi. Zuni Indians. It's the storyteller in the Hopi tradition. It's the show me an inconsistency. I really do want to see it if there's an inconsistency.
Arbolith.
Coastal tribes had different myths. Yes, I know there's different religions on the same continent, Peebo. I mentioned one. I'm not trying to mention all of them because you guys aren't going to sit and listen while I research, read, and I haven't had time to read them all. Over like 12 main religions, more than 100 sects of each of those religions, and then right like all the way down that stairwell until I reach the individual and their individual religion. I just can't do that. I'm sorry. I'm not 20,000 people who've had 50 years. I can't do it. Just trying to be friendly and hold on you to the... No. Hold me to the fire, but actually say the thing, Jamie. Don't tell me you're inconsistent. That doesn't mean a thing except for that you've asserted that I'm inconsistent. And how would I address that without you telling me how I'm inconsistent? So, and I'm not upset. I'm being a friend to you. I'm just being honest, dude. I literally don't know how to answer you. No idea. But if you point out what you think I'm inconsistent in, I will say, oh, I can see why you think I'm inconsistent. Here's why I'm not inconsistent. Blah, blah, blah. I can't answer you.
For example, if you say to me that my hair doesn't match the drapes, that everyone would immediately understand. But if you just say my hair is inconsistent, it might mean I have salt and pepper hair, or it might mean that I have a red stripe down the middle, or...
What, did I miss it? Doubting Thomas said he did write the specific. Did I miss it?
Oh.
Argue people and principles. How you argue that water is people and one of your principles is consistency in the text. Show me a place where waters, not water, waters cannot be read as large group of beings. Just show me one. I'd love to hear that. But I can give you almost endless examples of where waters does make sense as living beings, i.e., there are angels in heaven, and the angels in heaven are throughout on the inside of it. They don't live on the outside of heaven. They're in heaven. And then we're on the outside of this little globe, people. It's a freaking globe.
Shots
Trying to
fired.
accept it. And we're on the outside. And then the text in Genesis reads, waters above, throughout, waters below, on top of. Well, that's just true. And the waters are separated from the waters because heaven ain't here. We can see that heaven ain't here because, wow, it's not here. And we can see that we're stuck on the outside of the planet. What's the furthest we've ever bored into the crust? And what's the thickness of the crust compared to the size of the planet? I've heard it compared to the skin of an apple on an apple. That's how thick the crust is. And we're like all proud of ourselves. Oh, we can bore like 1/3 into the crust. Grow up. That's like boring 1/3 of the way through the the peel of an apple. Like, you're not going anywhere, dude. You're not impressive. You're like, you're almost insignificant. The apple wouldn't get a blemish from a bug doing that. You know? So I mean, name something else other than waters, because I mean, I could just give you like almost endless examples. I did a paper. I'll share it with you where I actually looked them up. Let me do this for you guys real quick.
Oh.
Now, I didn't do all of the occurrence of the word waters in the text because, wow, do you how many are there? I just did like the beginning of that text. Do you know how many? How many?
I looked it up today, actually, because that was my question. It occurs 287 times in 258 verses. In the King
Yeah, I'm
James.
not
Okay,
doing
let's
all
start
that.
the first one. Let's start with the first
waters.
Yeah. let me give you the first one. Yeah. And the Spirit of God moved upon that's the first one.
The face of the waters.
Okay, so here you go. Let me arrange this where you can see it as easily as possible. Here it is. The waters that the horse sits upon. That's the only usage definition given from the text. And I'm claiming that the idea continues. Genesis 1:7. God made the firmament, that means earth, and divided, that means separated, not necessarily equally, into two parts, the waters, or all total beings, are separated into two parts. Is it true that the Bible claims that we were not made on this earth? We were put into the Garden of Eden. Well, that was evident. Okay. All beings under God in heaven, which the separated ones, that's us separated from the larger group, heaven, we're under the firmament. Did I leave off the T? I did. That's horrible. Or is it just not centered? Oh, it's just not centered. The firmament of heaven, from the waters which were throughout the firmament of heaven, and it was so. I.e., they ain't staying here. Put them over there. Is that evidently true? Okay, let's keep going. God said, let the waters under the heaven, not in heaven, but under the heaven. And you can even take it as lowercase heaven, sky, which means not above the sky or below the sky, which is where we are, i.e. the earth, be gathered together in one kind of a place. So this is solving the problem of there being no area distinctions, which is the original claim about the planet. There was no life. There was no area distinctions. Let's do that. Let's force them to be separated from each other within that separation from heaven. Oceans. Now that's water, not waters, right? And let the dry land between leave some place for them to stand. Don't cover it completely in water. And let the land appear in between the places where there's oceans. Okay, and it was so. They added water. And let the waters, this being angels, repeating from the days of creation, bring forth abundantly, filled with ignorant goat herders, saw goats not born in water. The moving creature that hath life, and fowl, it may fly above the earth in the open firmament of the heaven, which sky. And God created and repurposed great whales and every living. But let's skip ahead. Let's say, oh, does it keep going like that? Well, it goes beyond Genesis 9:15. And I will, that is, I have not yet, remember or re-experience in a personal way, not just come to mind like in the English, my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature that of all flesh, a male and his female too, which refers to, taking stuff off the planet, and the waters, angels, shall no more become a flood, a deluge event, to destroy yes, the angels do the destruction. Remove all flesh from this earth, and there will only be one flood. We could go through every single one of these guys, but I mean, to me, it's just like redundant. It just keeps saying the same thing. Now, when it talks about liquid H2O, it talks about like buckets and wells and dipping some out and feeding animals and watering animals and people quenching their physical thirst. It does mention that.
What do you make of Leviticus 11:9 and 10?
Don't know.
Grab that.
That was
Waters.
French.
It's in the same. It's in the same.
You want to read it?
Sure. Leviticus 11:9 in Young's literal goes, "This ye do eat of all which are in the waters. Any one that hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas, and in the brooks, them ye do eat."
Oh, so it's the dietary.
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Is
Often
that
referred to as dietary law.
Right.
No, I don't think that's talking about us. But I think it's talking about, first of all, future prescriptive and our diets in heaven. Not
If it
obviously
doesn't have
not
fins
here.
and scales, it's an abomination.
Right.
That's
So
where it's
like
leading.
you're not supposed to eat eels, for instance. An eel would be a waterborne, no scales sort of a thing.
Yeah, turtles.
Yeah, which is the same as saying they're available. We just don't use them as a food source in heaven.
Right.
Okay, so it's talking about heaven. I had never heard you talk about Leviticus, so I thought that'd be an interesting one to look at.
Well, overall, I think all of the laws, and somebody brought this up earlier. I don't remember who now. Wearing clothes of all one thread.
Yeah, Zebra did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's hugely important, actually, and that all of this is laws for either the army, that is the 144,000 that follow the sheep wherever he should go, or follow the lamb wherever he should go. That it and if it's not that topic, the topic is what's heaven like. You know, so and does it make sense to have within the laws for an army something like don't wear mixed fabrics? Well, sure. It even makes sense if you work at McDonald's. If I give you a uniform, you wear the uniform I give you, or you're denying that you work for me. So
Can I interject?
A white robe made of all one. White robe made of all one fabric, and they don't tell you what the fabric is. It might be something so damned advanced we never even heard of it. We don't even have a concept of it. It might be like wrinkle-proof, stain-proof, spider-proof, snake repellent. Rats can't eat it. You can't cut it with a knife. I don't know what this stuff is. It might be better than like Kevlar for all I know. But it says wear your uniform. Well, that makes sense if you're a military force. Wear your uniform. Don't be putting on clothes that are around. Don't be acting like you don't work for me. Don't be scared. Do your job. Stuff like that. Sorry, Zebra.
I didn't have anything to add. What it was is that I wanted to share something stupid with you guys, which has nothing to do with religion but I sort of thought, because I enjoyed doing it. Yeah, that's not a surprise, me being off topic. Would you guys tolerate a bit of that?
Sure.
Richard looks angry now. I've made him angry.
No, I'm not angry.
There's a dating website called Plenty of Fish. And I've had a lot of fun with it lately because I almost never get a date out of it. So I've decided to suit myself and have fun. So I found someone, women get flooded with emails, and men who are sending the emails often don't get answers. It's just the way it works. And so I decided to send off really stupid messages. And one of them was for this attractive woman. And I said, I think you're too attractive for plenty of fish. That's abbreviated to POF. This is a big problem. I was also too attractive for POF, but then I got a hold of some theater makeup and added some warts and a goiter so I could fit in. It seems to be working.
That's terrible. Warts and a
terrible?
goiter. It's hilarious, but it's terrible.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. Sometimes things can be both offensive and funny and the whole 9 yards.
To JG, Buddha is of a line of Buddhas. Christ is of a line of Christ. Buddha is the enlightened one. Christ is the enlightened one. Buddha is the rightful heir to the throne. Christ is the rightful heir to the throne. Buddha inherits all things. Christ inherits all things. Buddha denies his throne temporarily to come and be with the people. Is Buddha a creator? Not the one that's there in the moment. The old Buddhas, the previous Buddhas are the creator of the situation. And on and on. This is objectively true. And yeah, I'm trashy like that too. Hold on, there was a bunch of stuff. Pibu Thulu. Do you in fact presuppose a deity? No, I do not presuppose a deity. There is such things as, in reality, wisdom, knowledge, counsel, understanding, fear, power, and conservation. It's not a presupposition. Those things are real, or I don't know why you're trying to like communicate and expect me to be able to answer. If those things aren't real, I wouldn't be able to answer if they're not real. Jamie, you're Christianized. Open your mind. JG's probably not trolling, although he comes across as trolling sometimes. Yes, one kind of thread. That was less than 200 words or 200 spaces altogether, Jamie. You could have written that all at once. Can't believe plenty of fish is still around. Hold on, there was other good ones. I'm just the comment about Buddha was a response to a presupposition question. I don't know what that. Sorry, not that smart. Repeat of that question. I don't presuppose God. Stop saying that. Those things are real, dude. Look, the Bible says that God is a set of spirits. That God itself is spirit. It says it like it is. Doesn't say like. So the biblical claim against all Christianity is that God is spirit. God is not the Father. God is not Jesus. God is not the Holy Ghost. God is spirit. The Father has flesh. The Son have flesh. They communicate. That's the Holy Ghost. Meanwhile, God is spirit. Why are you obviously denying the Bible, calling yourself a Christian? Quit it. Quit it. God is spirit. Then it lists the spirits, which I just listed. God is of 7 spirits. It lists the spirits. It goes on and on and on about this. When you say Jesus is God, you're nonsensical. You are anti-biblical when you say Jesus is God. You're being a freaking trained monkey. How about this? Read the story. There's a thought. How many gods in your one? There's only one God. It's a set of 7 spirits. They are immaterial constructs. They are wisdom, knowledge, counsel, understanding, fear, power, and conservation. Those are real things. Look them up. They're nouns. Every one of them is going to be a noun. Person, place, thing, or idea. Idea is a real thing. So they're real things. And you have ideals, and you follow them because you think you're right about your ideals. What the text is saying is this is the perfect set of ideals. Now, that might be a claim that you can't show is true till heaven. I'm fine with that. I'm willing to say that they are claiming that it's the perfect set of ideals. I'm willing to say that easily. By the way, I think they're right. By the way, I think they are the perfect set, most fundamental ideals. I don't see how you'd improve on that. Wisdom, knowledge, counsel, understanding, fear, power, and conservation. I don't know how you'd improve that list. And what would you add to it? What is equally fundamental to those seven? I just don't know of a thing. Maybe you can suggest some stuff. I can't. I've run out. I'm befuddled. I got nothing. I do not presuppose the Spirit of God. Look, the word spirit, I know Christians don't say this. I know. The word spirit is like the same thing as I'm a Cowboys fan. I have the spirit of being a fan of the football team, the Cowboys. That's what it means. It means spirit, like immaterial construct ideal. That's what spirit means. It doesn't mean, oh my gosh, Deepak Chopra. It doesn't mean that you are a I don't know.
Disembodied consciousness.
Yeah, right. It doesn't mean a disembodied consciousness. Well done. It's not what it means. Could you talk about your experience as if you're a disembodied consciousness? Sure. Knock yourself out. And that might be experientially true. It's just not what's being claimed. I'm not presupposing there is listed an immaterial God. I didn't presuppose that. I can show it to you in the text. And it's evidently so, i.e., if you think there is no such thing as wisdom, I got nothing left for you. If you think there's no such thing as counsel, giving or receiving it, I don't know what to tell you. How'd you learn English? If there's no counsel, if that's not a real thing, or is there no fear, like a respectful fear? I don't know. Do you think it's okay to like beat up your granddad in a wheelchair? Do you do that? Like if he says the wrong stuff, you just smack him around? It's an old man. He can't even defend himself. Of course you have fear. So I think those things are real. As far as I can tell, I experienced them. Other people say they experience them. I don't presuppose a creator. And the word creator, powerful beings, Elohim, is referring to angels, not God, acting on God, just like if you're a police officer and you have to follow federal law because you're a federal police officer, then there's a set of standards that you follow and you actually do it in reality and you go out and you do your job. And that's all the angels are claiming, is that God has commandments. That is to say, the Bill of Rights says certain things, you have to follow it. Or you're not part of the United States, for instance. If you're part of heaven, you have to follow God. And there's these immaterial constructs as a base guideline. And yeah, it gets really, really detailed and nuanced as you go on down the list. And there's almost endless repercussions. Who can know the mind of God? It's like saying, how could you have all of what is contained in the seven spirits in your personal understanding? Why do you think there's counsel in heaven? Why do you think there's like the 12 pillars in Jesus's heaven they're not decorations. He's talking about his apostles, the guys he spent the most time with on the earth. They become his counsel. That's because even Jesus in heaven knows that he can't know everything. He can't. There isn't a one that knows everything. There's a baseline set that there's a bunch of endless repercussions to. It is so wise. It is so perfect. It is such good counsel. It is such clear understanding that you can't beat it. It's better than anything. And that's what makes it God. It's not a singular fleshly being that you worship. And aren't we like naturally uninclined to do that in the first place? To bow down before some living thing? Isn't that freaking disgusting? Isn't that offensive? Of course it is. It's against your nature. It's not even the thing that you are to do something like that. That's satanic. It's against what you are. People force themselves to do it out of some, I don't know, delusional stuff.
The Bible says
communication with somebody, you're having communication with a living entity. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to bring up the most well-known, I think, bowing or knee bending verse is a predictive one about how we'll be compelled to bend our knees to the living God. We won't.
Every knee will bow. Every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord.
Confess or proclaim. Yeah, we could. But we'll be compelled to do that because of how obvious it'll be that's the thing to do, not because we're being forced or because,
it's wrong it's immoral to demand that someone. Okay, I was like 26 years old, and I was good at work, and the boss quit, and they said, are you dumb enough to accept this position as the boss on this remote site for our company? And I said, yes, I'm that stupid, even though 3 other people said no thank you, and I'm aware of it. I'm that proud. I'm that stupid. I'll do it. And I took that job. And immediately there was an older guy who didn't like my leadership style. I was a stupid kid. And he objected. And he'd broken something, and he obviously broke it. And I said, did you break it? And he lied. And he like red herringed and tried to distract me and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, dude, you're fired. Leave. Like, you won't even admit that you broke something, and you won't help fix it. Now I'm going to have to fix what you broke. Go. You're damaging stuff. You're careless. And although he was angry and he should have been fired, and I was upset, but I had to fire him and all that, he said something really smart to me out of revenge, out of spite. But he was right. He said, Richard, you have to command respect. You can't demand respect. He was right. You can't force someone else to love you. You can't force someone else to respect you. You have to love them first. You have to respect them first. And then once they catch on that that's how you feel about them, they'll be okay with you too. It may take a while for them to catch on. Caveat.
I think you can also respect the position somebody has, regardless of the person. There's an aspect of that, the office that they hold, and I think in a professional setting, that guy should have respected you just sort of by default. If you were his boss.
He kind of cursed me. He was like 10, 15 years, 10, 11, 12 years my senior.
That's tough.
I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was the only person stupid enough to take the job because everybody else knew how screwed that work site was. I was like, oh, I'll fix it. I'm stupid.
Sure. Nobody likes a young boss.
Yeah. He actually, because of the time that he said it, he made it hard for me to understand. I didn't accept it as easily. It took me years to understand what he meant by that, but he was right. After that, I started applying it, but it took me the situation delayed me from I wish my dad had said it or something under better circumstance. Well, Jamie, do put pressure on me. Please, I welcome that. But my gosh, man, make it valid and accurate to what I'm saying. Like, I want real objections. I got real objections to the stuff you say. In fact, what all the Christians say about the text, because they cherry pick and they're inconsistent. They literally ignore parts of the text. For instance, I can challenge you and say, please justify how the middle one speaking out of three is not promising the same as he got, but it says that he's Jesus, but the first one before him wasn't Jesus, and the next one to follow ain't Jesus. Please explain that to me, because that makes no damned sense. I do as I see my Father do before me. When Jesus says that, is he ruling in heaven? No. It's during the time of his testimony. Wait a minute. If I'm doing what I saw my Father do before me and I'm on earth testifying, do the math, guys. The Father was on the earth testifying. Now that's logically necessary. And when you go, the Father was never on the earth testifying, you're anti-biblical. You're a hypocrite. You're inconsistent. You're cherry picking the texts. Why? So you can feel good about you? Well, now you're just proud. So there you go. Justify that to me. And no, it's not a how do you say that? I'm bad. Quo K fallacy. I'm saying I can defend my position easily. You absolutely cannot defend yours. You are flawed in your thinking. You are inconsistent. I can point out at least 10 different spots where you do this. At least.
I think we could focus on just that spot probably for the rest of the day. That was just that was a big
Father
claim.
Must have been the Jesus before this earth.
Yeah.
Must have been. Either that or Jesus is a liar. I don't know why you believe a liar. Because you're calling Jesus a liar when you say that's not true. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. How many times have I told you?
I would expect that that it would be a matter of interpretation. That would be the argument.
Sure, but why the inconsistent interpretation?
Inconsistent from the rest of the Bible, you mean?
As a whole, yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you switching the context?
I think that's fair.
When it doesn't say there's a context change. Not Matthew 19:10 through 12. I'm horrible at numbers, and I have to recite them a billion times to get them in my head because they don't. It's like rote memorization, which is crap.
Sure.
It doesn't actually mean something to me.
Oh.
Revelation 7:9 through 15. That's the right one.
Hey, I apologize, Gus, but I have to run. But it's been real.
Sleep well.
Somebody spooked
Right,
the
take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Maybe it was a lion. You never know why he has to go. Revelation 7:9 through 15. It says they're angels. It says they're uncountable. It can't mean us. We know how many of us there are. In fact, we got a pretty fair estimate of how many humans lived on the earth total in the life of the planet. We know that number reasonably close. More or less.
Yeah.
Do we know how many people are alive on the planet? Yes. Does that mean you can count them? Yes. Well, then if you're saying something is uncountable, it can't mean us, and it calls them angels. Yet, Christians will change the context in the middle of the set of verses and say it means us. You're freaking insane. You are denying the actual reality that you know is true. That's insanity. When you say it has to be talking about us because it describes going through end times and accepting Christ, and that's where this group comes from, you just missed the whole point of the verse. You just missed that whole section where it says angels used to be a you on a planet. You missed the entire point. And then they deny it and go, oh, no, it doesn't say that angels came from it. What's your explanation, mister? God poofed them into existence. Are you friggin' kidding me?
Well, I mean, God's got a reputation for poofing things into existence.
In their reading frame, sure, it's just not a claim of the text.
Right.
We need water. Let's add water. We need air. Let's add air. We see the scarring on the planet of the water and air being delivered here in, oh my gosh, fast. You know that there's 2 sets of scarring that go across every bedrock across this planet?
2 sets of scarring? I don't know.
Yeah, like say this is the globe.
Okay.
There was 1 set of scarring where the water went this way across the globe.
Okay.
And there's another set of scars where the water went this way around the globe. And I mean freaking around it. Scarred bedrock. Huge trenches just raw. It just ate it.
Where can I see that?
Oh,
is it like on Google Maps and
like
stuff?
bedrock scarring.
Okay. I've never seen that.
Yeah, 2 different directions. Now the Christians have a problem with that because the flood would be 1.
Oh.
It wouldn't have been moving that fast all in one singular direction. But what I'm saying happened is angels dumped the oceans onto the planet. And I mean like in a day. Of course, there was nothing alive here, so they didn't hurt anything.
Okay.
So it's not like there's a moral issue with that. It's just a big old rock floating in space around a star.
Right, right.
So they dumped air here, and that scarred the planet. Then they dumped water here, and that scarred the planet. And we see the scars. It's insane. It's way too big for Noah's flood. Peace and respect, Raccoon. I'll try to find it for you. Michael, the Canadian atheist, welcome. Sorry, I'm a little bit excited today. And not because I was challenged. Don't think I'm like being defensive because I was challenged. I like the challenge. I want reasonable challenges. Don't come at me with because my mommy said you're wrong. Do not come at me with that crap. That's an insult. But come at me with your consistent understanding of the text, and I'll show you your inconsistency. If you're going to say that I'm inconsistent, let's talk about it. Maybe you're right. I haven't found one. People with multiple doctorates haven't found one. Now you might. That's possible. Well, I'm starting to doubt you're going to. I was just saying hello to Ivan Van Veen because I like their brain. In fact, I like all your brain. Can I say I appreciate that the people who come to this channel are, first of all, honest. They don't lie on purpose, ever. Second of all, you're brilliant. Like, I'm convinced that most of you are smarter than me, especially like folks like Canadian Atheist and Peebo Thulu and William Freeman and Mac and Zebra. He's weird. I'll grant you that. He's hilarious. But I'm sure he's smarter than me, man.
He's very bright.
Ways. He's very bright. All you guys. I mean, it's mind-blowing. But step up to the plate, man. Show me your potential. Like, give me a real challenge. I don't get near enough of those.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna let you down on that because I find your arguments really compelling. I can sort of still see from the point of view of guys like Jamie and the standard issue Christians, I can kind of see where, like, why your ideas are so offensive to them and why they're upsetting. And
I can see why too.
Yeah. But I'm not like, I find that set of ideas less and less compelling anyway. So like, I'm not the guy that's gonna, at least I'm not gonna bring that challenge to you. I'm more considered. I'm considering like delving deeper into the consistency of your arguments, and that's why I went to the whole waters, like, and counted how many waters, and like I want to look at every verse that says that word and think about it from that point of view. I think that's a helpful exercise for me. That's would be a boring show, but I think like that's the kind of track I'm on with you. I'm not trying to say no, actually, Genesis was, exactly how it was described, and
let's just take just waters for instance, and just the first usage for instance.
Right.
What is so damn fascinating to a God about H2O?
I mean, I don't know, but it's like, beautiful.
Dark Matter 2525 makes fun of it, right?
Who?
Where it's a guy is brilliant. He's stupid because he accepts Christianity about the text instead of looking at it himself. And he's making fun of standardized Christianity. And it's not a straw man to imagine Yahweh, the bearded God in a white robe, this old man, flying across a vast, endless ocean of water.
Sure.
That's actually an okay representation of the way the Christian reads, and the Spirit of God hovered over the waters or moved upon the waters.
Right.
That's an okay reading from what they say. But he makes fun of it. He goes, okay, the scenario is he's actually the Yahweh is a high school student, okay, and he's in a 3D reality which he's temporarily convinced is real, right? And he is God in that reality.
Sure.
So, but it's so the way they like drug you and make your brain work for that experiment to see if you're a good person before they move you into a society as an adult, which is what the test is, right? They see what kind of an asshole you are as a god. Interesting concept, right? So this high school student is going through the test and he really believes that he is God. But there was a glitch in the program where the rest of the earth didn't appear there where it was supposed to be. And it's all just this vast, endless ocean. And outside of the kid, in the lab where they're conducting this test on him, right? They're like, oh, crap, it's screwed up. He's going to realize what happened. He's going to realize it's all fake. And the idiot kid is just like, la, 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 I love this. Look at all the water I've created. What's so damn special about creating water? Why is that even interesting? Don't you realize that you're not a god if all you do is like, what's so awesome about you?
I mean, I don't know if this counts as a hard challenge, but I'm awfully impressed with water. I think it's a really cool molecule. It's very unusual. Hydrogen bonds and all that, it expands when it freezes.
Instead of shrinking, it actually gets bigger and fluffier.
It has all kinds of cool properties. I mean, and then at extreme temperatures, it's even wilder, extreme cold and heat.
And I'll talk about carbon.
Carbon, pretty cool too. Great lattice kind of material. If you want to build something molecularly, you got to go to carbon or silicon. Those two things are really good for building. Scaffolding, so especially if you want it to be bendable and pliable or like alive. So,
and this isn't your argument, but I've heard this argument. Well, we couldn't live without water. Yeah. Okay, fine. You can't live without carbon.
Right.
Can't live without oxygen.
I mean, if there was a verse that said, and the spirit fluttered across the carbon, I would probably make the same argument. Like, yeah, carbon.
Well, that's my point. Is you would have went, oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
I would have written it that way. That's perfect. And the Spirit of God moved upon the carbon.
Yeah,
and you just think that's gorgeous, and you'd find a way to say how gorgeous that is, and it would mean it.
I think I think we could compose a poem just about all the things the Spirit of God fluttered over.
Someone probably did.
All the cool atoms.
Yeah, but why is that godlike? It doesn't make sense. But if I say that you have ideals, and you have those ideals because you were influenced by other things, other influences, and that moved upon you, and you are changed for the better for those reasons. Well, dude, really? Well, if that's what it means, well, that's just a little bit bigger than H2O.
Right.
On a personal level. And I'm just suggesting that the book is a book about spiritual things.
Sorry,
Lizard, snake, what do you got?
Caterpillar. It's a
Caterpillar.
monarch
How
caterpillar.
big?
It's a monarch.
Ooh.
It's about that long. It's gorgeous.
Good size one, yeah.
Yeah. We plant milkweed everywhere to give them places to grow. So that one probably brushed up against me, and yeah, monarchs are in trouble.
Kind of startled you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard they are in trouble, and no one cares. Oh, well,
Yeah.
you care apparently. You and your people, you care.
We care, definitely. We're doing our part, our little part. Well, I don't know. I mean, and then I should say too that looking at it from your interpretation and considering waters to be the reproducing population of people on the planet, and that, as far as we know, at some point did start to flood the surface of the planet.
We have, yeah.
I mean, I was about to say literally. Obviously, it's not literally, but I remember one of our earliest conversations. You pointed out that from above, there's very little. There's a strong resemblance between a crowd of people and a flood of water, and so I've also thought about how, like, from above and also sped up in time. Like, if you're looking at over the centuries, you're going to see a flooding pattern because people also migrate through valleys toward low areas, just like waters do. So
yes, we do.
And we end up on shores and riverbanks, typically. So
I wonder how far I could go with that. Are humans the universal solvent?
Yeah.
Boy, we can destroy anything.
That's a good one.
Yeah. When we're under pressure, I don't know just how many comparisons could I make between H2O and human beings. Probably a lot.
Anyway, and this is also where, I mean, it says, he chose us for his son. This is where the Spirit fluttered. We are where the Spirit fluttered. We are who held those ideals that you mentioned, those 7 virtues, I guess. Yeah. This is the population where they were developing and where they were being written down and where they were being understood as gods, right? And so
I think
that like clicks like gears in a watch, So
right.
That's the most compelling thing for me about your point of view.
Do you know what the most compelling thing for me is? I was an anti-theist who couldn't give 2 shits about it.
You had a conversion.
Like, I'm not joking, man. I did not care about this topic to try to prove it right.
Right.
I was, by the way, of Michael, the Canadian atheist, he's a nice dude. I was an asshole.
Right.
I went around attacking adults and anyone who could have the conversation, down to 10. I once argued religion with a 10-year-old. Telling him why him and his mom are stupid. Dude, that's you shouldn't do that, but I did.
I mean,
he was bright for a 10-year-old, but he's just a 10-year-old kid.
Did you convince him?
I made pretty good argument, but he's 10, so he's following mom.
Right.
I made pretty good argument in front of him to his mom. It's also equally rude, maybe worse. I was a real piece of work, man. Sorry for the pause. Now, I thought I was justified being a piece of work because I had to defend myself against. Can you mute the stream, Mac? That's your kid, isn't it? Mute the stream. I defended myself against rape from a Catholic priest. I'm pretty sure that's a pretty darn good justification for being mad about Christians. Now, let's put that in perspective. My mom was a Catholic. My mom told me Catholic was right. Mom was my authority growing up. The only other authority aside from God as I was growing up told me that the Catholic Church was right, and then a priest tried to rape me. Justified pissed offedness? I think so. Is that an adult way to think about it? That just because a Catholic priest is a pedophile, that God doesn't exist? Well, no, I was a child. Did I hang on to that longer than I needed to without using any actually reason or logic? Yes. Was that easy for me to justify? Yes. I was hurt. I was emotionally pained. All right. Did it last entirely too long? Yes. But when I was converted, it was completely against everything I wanted to believe. I'm like getting a vision from the Father, flipping him the bird simultaneously. Like, I didn't like this. People will sometimes say, oh, it's interesting, and you're, I don't know, they must think I'm 3 times smarter than Einstein or something. Oh, you found a way to justify. What? Are you out of your freaking mind? I found a way to justify all this? How smart do you think I friggin' am? Grow up. No human's that smart. Nobody's that smart, guys. I didn't do that. Do you know how many billions of people have read the Bible throughout history? What, you just think I just happen to be smarter than all those guys, all those women, all those philosophers, all those theologians, super educated? I got nothing, but yeah, oh yeah, no problem. I can just justify all the religious stories. No big deal. And you think that's me? Well, you better start kissing my ass and asking me for advice on everything, because I'm apparently the smartest human that ever lived. So start kissing my ass. And before you make any decisions in your personal life, come ask me if it's okay. If that's what you think I am. And hopefully that shows you just how ridiculous the thought is. Dude, I'm not that smart. No, I'm not an idiot. I know that. But I'm not that smart. Come on, guys.
Well, my favorite thing is Zebra's point of view, where, we'll be well equipped to recognize if this is true once the spaceships descend,
No, that's perfectly reasonable. I always say that's perfectly Look, people have experiential and physical evidence for things, and that's why they believe them.
That's right.
That's absolutely reasonable and fine. Okay. And for the immaterial things that the future would hold, to not believe that it is going to exist is very reasonable. Yeah. I agree with you. You should not agree with me.
Right.
Okay. Now, if you, I think, had the experiences that I've had, tested it the way that I have, tried to falsify it and found it true as I have, that you should have been convinced by the time you get to where I am.
Right.
Which, again, I think that's reasonable. But you haven't had that experience, so why the heck would you believe this is true?
Right. Totally.
And if you have had that experience and you don't believe it's true, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
You are compartmentalizing in your cognitive dissonance, exercising your own bias for self-confirmation, and you're essentially crazy.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to tell you. But for those who haven't had the experience, you should not believe this.
I got a phone call this morning from an old friend of mine, and one of the things that he said was, I'm really ready for the aliens to come down and take us off this planet. He said it just totally out of context, and I was like, brother, Me too. Me too.
Oh, he didn't mean what we're talking about.
No, it was completely like just how he's doing, like, how are you doing?
Good for him.
Yeah.
Do you know how easily somebody like that would accept heaven?
That's a good point. Yeah.
I'll tell you, easier than the Pope.
It's true. Yeah. That's the tragic truth.
You know what? That flaky artist woman who you said she can't be depended upon for anything, who's the kind of person who like makes a special trip to the Empire State Building to hold a sign that says, "Come get me, alien." Dude, that girl's going to heaven, bro. should go so easy. And your Baptist preacher down the street who keeps insisting that God is mad at you, quoting Satan, who thinks that heaven has to be on an ethereal plane because he's a thinker. He's a smart guy. He's a thinker. Just ask him about it. He'll tell you. That dude's going to have a hard time going to heaven. He's going to be fighting it. He's going to like see this, the mechanical statue of the beast of Satan kill people. He's going to see that dude. He's going to hang in there till the end. I feel sorry for that guy. You can't tell him a damn thing.
That must have been a thing you talked about with Math Pig.
I don't know. I pulled it out of my butt.
Okay.
But I've seen stuff like that. I've heard people make arguments like that. Like,
sure.
Do you understand that the difference between, of course you will understand this, I meant that colloquially.
Sure,
it's not
sure.
an insult.
I understand.
Folks didn't have telescopes, dude.
Right.
They thought that what their human eye was seeing was an accurate representation of what's up there. What's out there. So of course they thought like all the stars are the same size except for the slightly brighter ones or slightly bigger.
Right.
Of course they did. They didn't realize those were galaxies and nebula they're looking at. They didn't know that. But my gosh, get over it. We have telescopes. We've had them since like officially since 1610. And you should know by now, the only thing it takes for something to be undetectable by you is that it's not super, super bright. And it's not circling something super, super bright. And that it's not near an extreme heat source. That's it. Our entire star systems we can't see. Heaven could be as big as a star system. It doesn't need to be on another plane of existence.
Right.
It only has to be not so bright and not so fast moving and not so near, so blocking some heat source, and you like can't see it. That's all it takes. So in the mindset of Occam's razor, it's unnecessary complexity when your preacher says, and God in immaterial heaven. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how you have the outside of an immaterial thing.
Right.
Sorry. Now I'm just rattling on. I'm getting like preaching. I should stop. What do you think about? Seriously, I'm becoming a preacher. It's crazy. It's crap. I hate that.
It's all right. You
What do you think, man?
It's okay.
I don't want to be a preacher. That's not my thing.
I think we should probably wrap it up. I should probably jump back into the non-YouTube world for a while. But thank you again for spending the time with me. And I think
thank you.
I wish we had more time. I wish I had more time because the chat is popping and you're hot today. So I encourage you.
I wish I had endless amount of time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I do not, and you guys don't either.
I was hoping today, maybe we'll maybe pitch this to next week, or maybe if I have some time later today, I'll track you down on somebody's stream. But I wanted to talk more about your recent implication that we're very close to the events that you talk about,
sure.
What the Bible talks about. I wanted to talk about that today, but Zebra came locked and loaded, so I wanted to give him a give him some room to talk. And
okay, so here's a suggestion.
All right,
let's do another show today. You tell me the time, if that's okay.
I can make that work. Yeah.
What time you want to do it?
I'll tell you what. Let me touch base with the family unit and stuff, and then I'll send you an email.
That's a good dad, husband, person answer.
Thanks. That's what I am. Among other things, that's part of
that
what
was
I am.
that was responsible man thing. Good for you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, whatever you say.
Perfect.
I'll stay up. I'll sleep early. Whatever. I don't.
Awesome. You got the day off. Me too.
Okay. All right. Peace and respect, Matt. Thank you so much. As I do thank Steve. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. We'll see you later.
Kick yourself out. I don't kick people out.
I got it.
All
right. Peace.
Let me consider this for a moment. Michael, the Canadian atheist, wrote Richard Madsen. I like what Aaron Ra said about heaven. He said, I don't want heaven or hell. Can I just live a decent life and then die? Who wants to live for eternity worshiping a dictator? If you don't see what's wrong with that, okay. Aaron Ra has been religious about something his whole adult life. He did Christianity. He did, I don't know, there's a laundry list. I'm just going to make up some examples. I don't remember what his list is. You'll forgive me for not memorizing Aaron Ra's list of religions. He was a crystal wearing, Satan worshiping, tree hugging, Christian crucifix having, you name it. The dude is just religiously minded. He's a religious guy. Now he's religious about clades and homology and all that stuff. He's still religious. Not different. He hasn't fixed anything. And his religious training put him in a mindset where he thinks that heaven is this thing and hell is this thing. And he has very, definitive ideas that Christians have taught him about what those things mean. The only problem I have with that is it's anti-biblical. It's literally not what the text says. It's filled with assumptions. It ignores huge chunks of the text. I'll give you a for instance that's just undeniable. And I measured the city, the holy city, i.e. heaven. I don't know what other holy city you can pry out of the Bible, but heaven. And it was 12,000 furlongs. That's a real measurement, man. A furlong's an actual thing. If you look it up, it's 0.8 miles. I think that's the conversion factor. I'm not good at numbers. So that turns out to be 12,000 furlongs, turns out to be 1,500 miles across. Then it says, you measure it from this certain starting point. Measure it. It's the same everywhere you measure it. Okay. There's only one thing that fits that description. And sorry, Michelangelo, Da Vinci, whomever, you goofballs. It's not a cube. Cubes have, if you start measuring a cube from any point, doesn't matter where you start, you're going to get different measurements. From any singular point, you measure out a cube. There are flats, there are points, there are different distances everywhere, all over the place, different distances. It's only one shape that doesn't do that. A sphere. Spheres don't do that. You can have a measuring point and measure everything exactly the same no matter where you measure it. Only a sphere does that. Nothing else does. So that's logically necessary. First of all, there's an outside measurement and that it's spherical in shape. Well, please, any Christian, tell me why you didn't read that. What you think a furlong is. It's not a pretend thing. It's like a fathom and an acre and a rod. Those were units of measurement, like in those days. People used those. Furlongs is in the Bible, Doubting Thomas. You're reading a translation that maybe uses some other word. It might actually say 1,500 miles in the one you're reading. No. Square furlongs is an area. Furlong is a straight line distance. Just like acre is actually an area, but it has sides. It's a surface area, Doubting Thomas. Yeah, furlong is the same time frame as like fathoms, of depth of water. It's one of those measurements. But there's a conversion factor, and that's 1,500 miles. 6 times is mentioned in the Bible, given they are in translations. Yeah. Furlongs still used in horse racing. I did not know that. I'm not a fan of horse racing, but that's interesting, Ivan. Okay. So, but my point is, how can you have a shape and a distance of an ethereal plane that has no outside? Please, Christians, tell me why you're ignoring the Bible and calling yourself a Christian. It says shape and size. Well, I don't care what the shape is. Well, let's not even talk about what the shape is. Let's not even talk about what the size is. Who gives a crap? Just tell me how there is a shape and a size to an ethereal plane. That's a pretty good one. Good point. That makes no sense, guys. And if you're ignoring one thing, one line, one half of a line in the Bible, how do you say that you're biblically coherent? And if you think I'm ignoring even a half of a line from anywhere in the Bible, point it out to me. I'm not. That's interesting. Furlongs did not exist when the Bible was written. Let's see, where is it? It's New Testament. Are you sure? How did it come out as furlong? Heck, I'll just look it up. Why not? Doesn't take that long. Let me share a screen so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to go smoke a cigarette soon, guys. Serious. So make sure you guys can see that. Put me small bottom. So you can see it. Furlongs, furlongs. Yeah, 5 times in 5 verses in the Bible, the word furlong. What's the actual original word? Hold on a second, George. Behold, to them went that day village called. What happened to the word furlongs? Did I miss it? Did I hit the wrong thing? Let me go back. Furlongs. Oh, it's the last word. Okay. Scroll all the way to the bottom. Okay, here we go. Furlongs. Stadion. It sounds like the word stadium. Let's see. Stadios. Stadios from the histemi. Certain tenses. To cause or to make a stand, place of standing, set of balance, stand on or by or near. So like a place where you stand, okay? And then derivative of that, fixed grade or certain measure of distance. Okay, a place that you stand of a certain distance. So it's a size of a thing. So there you go. Got translated at the time as furlongs. So furlongs is a word. Here's the Greek stadion, meaning from the base of Greek 2476 as a fixed thing, a stade or certain measure of distance, by implication a stadium or racecourse, which is why it's probably used in with horses today. A furlong, a race. Ah, cool. Hope that was exhaustive enough for you guys. Thanks for the tip, George. You are correct. It's not the original word. But the measurement still translates, which is my point. You can't have any kind of a measurement, a billionth of a millimeter of an ethereal plane. That makes no sense. Okay, cool. It's 9th century. Cool. All right. And then, of course, the King James more modern translations, of course, is 1600s. So that makes sense. Thank you for that. Old English. Right. Right on. So I got translated that, but still it's a measurement from an actual other measurement that's more older. Which is why I translated it into miles, because I needed something that makes sense to my brain in this time frame. But it's not like we've lost track of what those terms meant. We have definitions for them. So it's 12,000 furlongs, which is 2,100. That's the wrong. I shouldn't use that number. That's one of the other numbers, which is 16,000 stadiums, which is 1,500 miles, something like that. I don't know. 10% off between the word used in the Bible and a furlong. The measurement is 10% of 10% off. You're going to have to use more words, George. I don't know what that meant. Sorry. The measurement is 10% off between the word used in the Bible and a furlong. Well, I don't know what a stadia is. A stadia is 600 feet, or a stadia is 660 feet, and then the Bible quotes it as being 600 feet. Well, at least I lowballed everything. Okay, so the measurements of the head, although I'm using these as estimates just to put a picture in the head anyway. Big spaceships, like so big it'll freak out your brain, like you don't like big. So let's say it's not 1,500 miles. Let's say it's 1,760 miles. Okay, fine. Friggin' huge. No, they didn't have feet back in that day. I know. All right, guys. Who thinks the Earth is a pyramid? 9th century at the latest, what I'm seeing. Thank you, Doubting Thomas. 9th century thinks the Earth is a pyramid. Anyway, go smoke. Yep. Yeah, bigly. That's the idea. Wild Heart's got it. Bigly red spaceships. I think there's no way to confuse the count of 29, the shape of red, the gigantic, because they go on and on about the shadow of God down on the people below, under the wings of eagles and all that. The seraphim having the 6 wings. I think there's no getting around those basic concepts. Exactly how big it is doesn't really matter. Like mind-blowing huge. But still, there's no way to justify the outside of an ethereal plane. You're just trolling, Jill. Why don't you actually engage, Jill? Are you scared? Does your brain not work that well? Do you always have to cheat? Do you always have to lie? Do you always have to throw a red herring in and like attack someone personally so that, and by the way, I won't fall for this twice. I did fall for it, but I won't fall for it twice, to throw them off the path, to get the dog off the scent, because you know I had you trapped. So you attacked my military record. Well, it worked once. Once. I have to think of something new for me, man. I'm only that dumb once. Anyway, guys. Hey, thanks for everybody showing by. And by the way, I'm also convinced that Jill is brilliant. Just Christianity makes him say stupid things. And thank you for all your minds, all of you. I would go through the whole list, but you know who you are. I'm convinced that all of you guys are brilliant. Many of you, most likely, smarter than I am. I don't know which ones. I can't really tell because I'm not that smart. But thank you all so much for your time. I want you all to know that I truly do look forward to the day that we're all great friends. Have peace until next time. And please, I wish you would have peace. Most of my life is filled with peace.